Welcome back to Tempo TV. I am Shawna, the Southern Regional for Tempo Lighting, and today we're going to talk all about ceiling washed design. And ceiling washed lighting basically means we're illuminating the entire ceiling with light. We want to minimize or completely eliminate the appearance of any imperfections in the ceiling finish, but with regards to the light itself, we don't want any shadows or hot spots, no striations, and no reflections of the pixelations or the LEDs in any of the reflected surfaces. There are a lot of different ways you can go about ceiling wash using lighting, but today specifically we're going to talk about how to hide the light source inside a cove and wash the ceiling with enough light that it becomes a luminous panel or an indirect light source in and of itself. The light will get bounced off of the ceiling, will shine into your room in a glare-free way so that you'll get about 15 to 30 foot candles on the work plane and on the floors pretty evenly throughout your entire space. Now, I've set up some examples behind me. So imagine, if you will, that the wall behind me that's completely clean is the ceiling and the table here is the wall. Now, for comparison's sake, I have a couple of different fixtures set up. This first one is a very traditional light source for coves. What most people consider when they say we just need a little bit of a cove light, they mean that we need a little bit of an accent light, and this would be representative of everything from a high-end accent cove light to just a tape of light in a channel. So these are usually low profile, they don't have any optics on them, they might have a lightly frosted lens, and they'll come with minimal rotatable mounting brackets. At the most, they might have a mounting channel that allow them to go from completely flat to about 20 or 30 degrees. These are typically mounted at the base of the cove, shining up, and that's the example that I gave you here. So if you see inside here, the fixture is mounted at the base of the cove, and the cove, of course, be mounted to the wall. It'd be mounted about 3 to 6 inches away from the ceiling. So this is about 6 inches away from the ceiling, and you can see the effect that a typical accent light would have. In other words, you have this really nice pool of light on the ceiling, but it has a very sharp cutoff and no light escapes beyond that. Now, the reason for this is that a lot of light is also getting trapped inside the cove. These are not very efficient systems. And when we're talking about the goal of ceiling wash, we really want to use it as an alternate to traditional downlights, so traditional 2x4 troffers, traditional recessed can lights, and an accent light is just not going to cut it. So what we've done at Tempo is designed a ceiling wash fixture that can fit inside a cove and will pull enough light out of the cove and onto the ceiling and into the room. This fixture is called the Tempo Prime FX. Now, we have put asymmetric optics on top of the LEDs, and we also mount the fixture vertically on the wall behind the cove. Anytime you do that with any cove system, you automatically increase the brightness of the cove, and here, efficiency is the name of the game. We also mount the fixture not flat up against the wall, but we mount it at a 20-degree angle. This helps to push light up out of the cove and into the room even more. This system, believe it or not, gets 85% of the light out of the cove and into your room. So inside here, we again just have the fixture mounted vertically on the wall, shining up to the ceiling. Now, the parameters are pretty strict for this. Anytime you're ceiling wash using a cove, you need to give the entire system enough room to get light not just onto the ceiling, but out horizontally as well. So whereas an accent light can be 3 to 6 inches away from the ceiling or even closer, ceiling wash applications need a minimum of 8 inches. Any closer than that, and as you see I'm moving closer, the light's not escaping out into the room. So you can move 12 to 24 inches is really the sweet spot. As I move even farther away, you get a nice even diffusion of light, but eventually you'll start to lose that efficiency. So keep in the sweet spot of 12 to 24 inches, 8 inches minimum, 30 inches max. Now, with regards to the depth of the cove, this can change depending on the orientation of your fixture. You can mount a fixture at the base of a cove and still achieve a really beautiful ceiling wash application. But rule of thumb is that you need a minimum of 12 inches from your wall to the end of your cove or the lip of your cove. So this is a very big space. When you talk about you need a minimum of 12 to 24 inches from the top of the cove to the ceiling, and then you need a minimum of 12 inches from the wall to the end of the cove, This is really harkening back to the days of designing Cove lights around fluorescent and incandescent tubes, which if you're retrofitting into a larger space that might have been designed for that, then you're a-okay with mounting the fixture at the base of the Cove. But modern Cove design usually dictates that we're going into tighter and tighter and smaller spaces. So to get around that, a great way to do that is to mount any fixture that you're using vertically on the lip behind the Cove. Always make sure that you can't see the fixture over the top of the Cove, but mounting it vertically will increase the brightness and it will also allow you to decrease that minimum Cove width from 12 inches down to 3 inches. So a big difference there and a great compromise when you think about how much light we are getting out of these entire systems. Also, let's talk about reflectivity. When we're using the ceiling and all of the reflective surfaces as workhorses in the entire system, reflectivity is key. We recommend that you have a minimum reflectivity on all of your surfaces. That means that what's finished out inside the Cove, but also on the ceiling itself of at least 80%. Now that encompasses most commercial grade walls and ceilings, so even most lay-in ceilings, the 2x2 and 2x4 panels fall into that 80% category, but just make sure to check when you're trying to use a ceiling wash application. Otherwise, again, you're going to compromise the efficiency of that entire system. Finally, adjustability is kind of key. With any Cove application, you can't run the fixtures directly up against the wall. You need some space between the end of your run and your wall, and also around the corners and curves. So when you look around the corners of any Cove, you should not see any fixtures inside the actual corner. You'll see some jumper cables connecting the fixture ends. And because life is not created perfect, our fixtures come with some adjustability as well. So every 1 foot you have this little space. It'll come with a spacer right here that you can remove, and then you can adjust the entire length of your fixture run so that you don't get any hot spots or striations on any of the fixture ends, on walls, or around corners and curves. So you get this really nice even illumination even around there as well. Consistency really is key with these systems. So the uniformity ratios that you're going to be looking for is 10:1 max to min over your ceiling and 2:1 average to min between your fixtures. So again, really even illumination between all of those fixtures. The big goal is that for small to medium sized spaces, you want to clean up your ceilings. So in these areas where even recessed can lights might clutter up your space, this is going to be a really great solution for that. Also in the small spaces, using an indirect light source is going to create a more open and bright and airy feeling automatically. The idea is that the average day-to-day person is going to walk into a space like that and not really notice where the bulk of the light is coming from. These types of systems layer great with suspended pendants over tables in dining rooms or conference rooms, and accent lights if you want to accent art or other highlights in your room. These are great systems to layer in with that because the bulk of the work comes from the Cove light, and then you can accent in and create some really stunning effects with some other high-end fixtures and other areas of your space. And then again, anything that has reflective surfaces, so anything from a glass table to a granite countertop, marble floors, TV screens, and computer screens. These areas encompass a huge variety of spaces, from libraries and schools to at your home. This can be your living room or your dining room, your home theater, and these can also be doctor's offices, nursing home facilities, and other areas like that. So a ton of different uses for these. We will put a link in the show notes to show you some pictures of what the end looks should be like in some of these applications, and also some technical information on the Tempo Prime effects itself. And do us a favor, if you found this video helpful and you enjoyed it, please hit like and subscribe to Tempo TV, share this with your friends and colleagues, and tune in next time when we talk all about grazing.